Hello, and welcome back to What It Does Well. Let's not waste any time and dive straight into Wasteland 2 Director's Cut. The original game spread itself onto the market in 2014, while the Director's Cut is an overhaul of the entire game a year later. Let's open things up with what type of game you're actually in for. Now, the marketing for Wasteland 2 mentions Fallout a great deal, and while you can buy an RPG from the gun merchants in the game itself isn't really an RPG like Fallout or Baldur's Gate. It's much more of a somewhat linear squad management campaign than a role playing game per se. A couple of reasons for this. Unlike the Vault Dweller that falls out of his Fallout vault in Fallout, or the protagonist you create in Baldur's Gate. There's no single character in Wasteland 2 that acts as a focal point for your role playing. Instead, you form a starting squad of four blank paper recruits, which, similarly to XCOM, is much more about balancing their individual traits and statistics than anything else. Wasteland also ended up being a fairly linear experience. There's only one real ending. You either defeat the bad guy, or you don't. There's also no real moral ambiguity as you quest across the landscape. You either side with the obviously bad guys but finish your mission faster, or you side with the obviously good guys and get more playtime. Speaking of playtime, Wasteland 2 touts over 80 hours of gameplay, which is definitely true. It's so long that I had to say so long to eating, sleeping, and making videos for a whole week. And that was just the first half. Now that we've got some impression of the game itself, what does it do well? Well, first off, as mentioned, squad management. There's an impressive amount of numbers you can fiddle with to define the skills and traits of each character and companion in your squad. Each member needs to specialize and balance out the other appendages. You can have 7 characters in your squad at the same time, and it's very important to make sure their skills don't overlap. One might be a doctor that focuses on healing, and let's say handguns for close range. Another might be your safe cracker and bomb disposal sacrifice. And another might be the smooth talker that beats people over the head with something heavy. The combinations are as endless as the wasteland. You'll also find it important to think a little strategically. Things like deciding which of your squad should be in the vanguard, positioning your sniper, or with good timing, you can even sneak past some of the enemies. Next up, we have the superb voiceovers, dialogue, and characters, all rolling together. There are just over 60 voice actors in the credits on the game's Internet Movie Database page. Between the written and voiced dialogue, this game just won't shut up, which is great. And the dialogue is really something. Anytime the radio is on, stop and listen is all you really want to do. This all makes for some great world building. The world is constructed to feel busy and alive. There's also a great variety of interesting settings and factions. A town overrun by plants, a cult worshipping a nuclear bomb, a community that takes manners, please and thank you, to the extreme, and more. Every new location offers something a little different. For a game called Wasteland, it sure has a lot going on. On a final note, I'd like to mention that the in-game tutorials were done very well because they pop up optionally on the side of the screen, without pausing or interfering with your gameplay. I just thought this was a very nice design choice. And absolutely more games should do this. Instead of pausing your experience every 5 seconds in order to tell you which square peg fits into what round hole. So in conclusion, Wasteland 2 is a game that doesn't end and doesn't shut up, like my grandmother. Thanks for listening. Did I miss anything important? If you've played Wasteland 2 Director's Cut, tell us what you thought about it in the YouTube comments below.
Why won't you listen? Why won't you give up? I promise you, there is no Verkiten armor. It does not exist.